I would say research around different parenting styles is probably the most researched material with parenting. Any of you heard of Barbara Coloroso? Yeah, in her wonderful book, Kids Are Worth It, and she wrote about 3 parenting styles: the brick wall, the jellyfish, and the backbone family. And the brick wall was the authoritarian family where they were very controlling and they were over-concerned about limits and rules. They weren't bringing kids into decision-making. They weren't connecting with kids emotionally, so she identified that as the brick wall. In research, they simply call it authoritarian parenting. And basically, the line that's used quite often with authoritarian parenting is because I said so. Yeah. The jellyfish parenting style that she talks about is in research called permissive parenting. And permissive parenting is where we give too much freedom to children too soon, or when we don't have a structure of limits and things like that. So I'm going to get into more detail in these parenting styles. Researchers also identified another parenting style which was called uninvolved parenting. And I would say basically uninvolved parenting, it happens when parents are, sometimes it can be situational because something is going on and they're not able to give the kids the attention that they need to. And so there can be forms of neglect and that kind of thing with uninvolved parenting. So I'm going to get into a little bit of this. And when I think about parenting styles, I mean, when I look at my own parenting style, I would say, yes, authoritative is the 4th style. Authoritative is more democratic and bringing kids into decision-making and being responsive to their feelings and guiding them and helping them manage their behavior, but still allowing the expression of feelings and that kind of thing. I would say that most of the time that was my style of parenting, and it helped to be teaching this. But I think we all have times where we find ourselves being either permissive or authoritarian. Sometimes we just get to that point where we say, just do it because I said so, damn it, because we're just at the end of our ropes. So I'll get into this for a few minutes. But the language that I actually prefer is the language of boundaries, to look at our parenting in terms of boundaries. And if we have ineffective boundaries in our adult life, if we find personally that we're a caretaker, for example, and we run around, you know, doing too much for people and taking on people's issues and that kind of thing, we're probably going to be a caretaker as a parent. If we find ourselves being a fairly controlling person in the workplace or in our lives in general, we're probably going to be a fairly controlling parent. It's really about boundary awareness. So permissive parenting is when there is not enough no's. As I said, it's like a child goes from level 0 to a level 3 without support. And what can happen to a child who is on the receiving end of permissive parenting is that he doesn't get the guidance to say no to some of his whims. A child who is given too much freedom doesn't have the safety and closeness needed to feel protected and to develop that internal guidance system. And when we have this boundary blindness with our kids, it does affect them going into their future. I mean, parenting now is also affecting how our children turn out later. It's kind of scary, actually, to think about how our kids respond to the way we parent them. But the truth is that they do, and they learn about boundaries in their family of origin. So if they have that permissiveness as an adult, they may grow up to be somebody who struggles with self-discipline and who allows his whims to take over at times when he needs to be responsible because he never really got to mature in that way with too much permissiveness.